Hello, my name is Simon Hobson, and today's episode I'm joined by Robert Humphries. Robert is an inaugural director of the Great Plains Welsh Heritage Centre in Wymore, Nebraska, in the USA.
And I really wanted to research the history of Welsh people in this particular area of Wisconsin. There was a significant Welsh population, small but significant. I can visit our local cemetery where there are numerous inscriptions in Welsh. There are some universities and colleges, a small number, where I know Welsh is taught. Ohio, there was a corner of southeastern Ohio where there was a large concentration of Welsh settlement, and the legacy of that is the Madog Center for Welsh Studies at Rio Grande University, and they do some Welsh courses. And then I know that the Brigham Young University in Utah, particularly because of the Latter-day Saints and the Welsh contingent in that religious movement, and those settlers who went to Utah, they also offer teach Welsh courses. Outside of that, I know that there are some colleges and universities that might teach Welsh as part of they might teach medieval Welsh or Middle Welsh as part of a study of historic language and literature. So the Great Plains Welsh Heritage Project, as its sort of official sort of umbrella term, actually we're celebrating our 25th anniversary. So it was established in 2000, and it began as a local history project in the community of Wymore, Nebraska. For those who are not familiar with North American geography, it's pretty much in the center of the United States. It's on the eastern edge of the Great Plains region, which is, as its name suggests, a fairly flat expanse of land. It's an agricultural community today, and it began because there was an elderly member of the community. His name was Ellsworth Closs, and he was pretty much the last Welsh speaker in that community. He spoke some Welsh. His parents had come from Wales, immigrated from Wales, and he died in the year 2000. And there was he left a legacy which the people of Wymore wanted to utilize and honor, and so they decided that they wanted to explore the history of the Welsh community that had settled there. So the Great Plains Welsh Heritage Project started with a very small group of people of Welsh ancestry in Wymore wanting to celebrate their cultural ethnic heritage. They purchased a building to create a museum, a small museum, and they started holding a Welsh festival periodically. And over the years, it just became a much bigger enterprise. They began getting a lot of donations from people across North America of Welsh items related to the Welsh diaspora in North America. And those, with all of those donations, they decided to raise money for an archive building. So it has that part of the center in Wymore is a purpose-built archive room.
When one thinks of the United States and immigration of the 19th and 20th century, I would imagine most would think of the Irish and perhaps the Scots as well in certain areas, but the Welsh don't often share that story.
Little Welsh communities scattered throughout the United States in the 19th century, but many of them were quite small, and that's certainly true the further west you go. The most significant and largest numbers of Welsh were concentrated, I think, in the eastern states, in places like Utica, New York, and its surrounding area, parts of Pennsylvania. Obviously, very early on in colonial history, you have the migration of the Welsh Quakers and Baptists to Pennsylvania. you obviously have the large numbers of Welsh in coal mining in Pennsylvania, but there were also Welsh coal miners in Kansas and Iowa and Montana. And in the United States, what you see is Welsh communities where the Welsh language, for instance, is really seen, I think, as it was sort of in Wales by many people, as the language of the church, of religion, of personal family life. Whereas, and certainly with the reality of life for these immigrants was that, the economic life, political, public life, all of that was going on around them in English. And, over time, there was a lot of pressure within the Welsh community to assimilate. So you have people who were, who were born into Welsh families. They might have been born in Wales, or they might have been born in the United States, but they were raised in the United States in a Welsh-speaking community. All of their neighbors are Welsh. They go to a Welsh church. They might go to a public school where they would learn and be taught in English. But these people are interacting with their families, with their communities, with people in other Welsh communities, with people in the homeland, in the Welsh language. And so you have, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a very strong Welsh ethnic, I should say, a Welsh American ethnic identity. People who are Welsh in language and culture, but American in the way in which they identified themselves and how they aligned themselves with a sort of a political mindset.